When you hear the word art, what do you think of? Majestic masterwork paintings? Elaborate frescoes? Beautiful sculptures? What about the clothes on your back? The pattern of the carpet? Or the chair you're sitting in? That's art too! The fact of the matter is, art is all around us whether you know it or not. It's so deeply ingrained in our culture that we tend to take it for granted, and as a result, most people just don't appreciate its importance to society. Because of this, funding for arts education and public arts programs is lower than ever. The general public devalues and disparages the arts due to their own ignorance about the topic. Though we are fortunate enough to live in a town with a rich artistic community, most people around the country aren't as lucky. Many don't have any opportunities to engage in the arts at all. Therefore, it's imperative that we take advantage of the artistic opportunities available to us because art has such a massive impact on our lives. This documentary will explore some of the ways that the arts have enriched the lives of people in Wilmington's art community and how you too can reap those benefits. To gain a more personal perspective on how the arts affect our community, I spoke with Deb Shoemaker, a local art therapist, Kemi Bayless, an art educator at Bellamy Elementary, Georgianne Haas, the arts education supervisor for New Hanover County Schools, and local artists Fritzy Hubert, Mary Ellen Golden, and Gail Tustin. Numerous studies over the years have shown that the creation of art has many benefits on emotional, intellectual, and social levels. Because art allows the artist to express their thoughts visually, it is frequently used by art therapists to help patients better handle their emotions. I spoke with a local art therapist about her experiences on the job to learn more.
My name's Deb Shoemaker, and I'm a board-certified registered art therapist and licensed professional counselor here in Wilmington. So I am in the mental health profession as an art therapist, and in that capacity I see with my clients how art making helps people become more self-assured. It gives them an outlet for self-expression, which increases their healthy mental health. I see people who can't verbally express their feelings through their artwork, which is very helpful for them. I've seen the arts help people become self-sufficient through their arts as a career. Community is a real sense of community. It's a connection, and it's nice to be around other people that value the value of art. Okay, well, art therapy is beneficial to my clients in several different ways, and one of the ways I mentioned earlier is it's an avenue for self-expression. And then for some of my clients, they consider themselves artists, and their art making is a sense of pride for them, and a sense of helping to create a sense of self-worth.
Further, studies have also shown that students who create or merely appreciate art before exams score significantly higher than those who don't. Likewise, the longer people spend creating art on a regular basis, the more complex their designs become, reflecting the development of their underlying thought process. The arts have also been shown to expand a person's capacity for empathy and help them build stronger, more meaningful connections with the people around them through their shared humanity.
And I think it's meaningful even for people who do plan on being in a career for 30 years or more to make sure that they're in touch with the arts, because that gives you a possibility of conceptual blockbusting, an avenue for fulfillment outside of your normal endeavor, and a way to consistently adjust to viewing and reviewing the world in a different way.
In spite of this, the arts are massively downplayed in our culture, as indicated by the ignorance of the public and the monetary issues arts advocates grapple with. One of the biggest challenges that arts advocates face are the misconceptions of the public. The general consensus seems to be that the arts are useless beyond their capacity for entertainment, which is simply not true. Because of this, funding for both arts education and public arts programs is very vulnerable to budget cuts and lower expenditures than other ventures. The arts and humanities as a whole tend to be shoved aside in favor of science, math, and other subjects that are deemed more worthy because the arts are seen as a luxury. People generally tend to be unaware of the practical applications of the arts, and a lot of the time, young people who express interest into going into the arts as a career are quickly shot down. The stereotype of the starving artist is so common that it's become almost the blanket label for all creative careers.
Children aren't going to want to grow up to be artists when people are telling them you can't make any money as an artist, or what's your real job, or people hear this when they're growing up. And when I was in art school, lots of my peers say, wow, you're an art major? I wanted to be an art major, but my parents made me be a business major. Mm-hmm. And that's just kind of sad to me. But I think it's been kind of a long time of the arts not being valued or the arts being devalued.
In reality, the arts are one of the fastest growing careers in New Hanover County, second only to real estate. And being an artist doesn't necessarily mean sitting in front of an easel all day. There are hundreds of lucrative careers that involve creating art, including graphic design, photography, fashion design, painting, glassblowing, animation, sequential art, medical illustration, gallery ownership, art direction, web design, visual effects, advertising, costume design, makeup and hair, choreography, acting, culinary art, jeweling, police sketch art, art and film critics, art teacher, art therapist, architect, industrial design, packaging and product design, visual development for movies and video games, concept art, app developer, landscape artist. The list goes on and on and on. To learn more about the typical day on the job for a mixed media artist, I spent some time in the studio of local artist Gail Tustin to watch her work. She is currently making memorial tiles for a sculpture at the Hospice Center, where she has previously worked on the beautiful murals that adorn the building.
I roll out these slabs so they're ready to go, and I don't have to, I can use my slab over them for them
That's
to be
smart.
drawn. Clay does have memory, so I try not to lift it up too much. Keep that moist. And then I come over here. And use a wooden dowel so they're all pretty consistently even. Yeah, they've gone through the slab roller. And then with my extra clay, I do crazy things. Like, So then I have these templates. First, if I see any pieces of sand or something, I'll get it out of there because it'll pop the glaze off. So that's good enough. So I'll take the template. And I don't want them perfectly round. So they're all a little bit different, and no two are textured the same either. The texture is different on all of them. So I don't like to waste clay, so I'll do things with the extra clay. So this time I've been making beads.
That's cool. I like this.
This is my fun thing. So I'm taking the extra clay. So there will all be different sizes. I love big beads. And I've never made big beads before. I just decided, I think I'm going to make some big beads and make a necklace. And then I could, like, let's say I want to use this. I can get some texture. So that terracage will show up, because I figured I'd do terracage too.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll just put that in the bead box. So then back to the tile. So, dryer sheet. plate. And my next name, I check that. Get my little to lean my hand on. And I do have this marked off so I have an idea. And Dean is 4 letters. So I'll kind of eyeball. Make sure I have the D in the right direction. There's a little number there so I know. And then I get over it and look and make sure it's even. If they all went really that fast, it'd be great, but usually that doesn't happen. Because the stamps aren't perfect, and that's the beauty of it too, that they are handmade, so I'm gonna straighten that up a little. The A I always have a little bit of a problem with, because the bottom is up higher, so I know that. Try to tilt it down, and it turned out okay. So then, before I go to the next row, just try to get out the circle. And take a recycled dryer sheet. And then sometimes I have these little things if I don't really like how that A is. I'll try to clean it up a little. And hope I haven't had too much coffee. My hand shakes too much. Looks pretty good. Then I've got his last name, 2, 4, 6, 8, about 10. So if that's 4, try to get it over far enough. And then I have to take a break after so many because my neck starts to bother me. So I think about when I'm doing the texture, if it's male or female and feminine, and because I've got some really beautiful lacy things for more feminine. And I had to make a little comma.
Did you just carve it, or is it?
Yeah, I just carved it out of a little scrap. But you can make stamps and things out of clay too. So I do.
They've just been a very big part of my life. It's been something that I can lose myself completely and lose all track of time, whatever.
They, to me, are the thing that makes us human, that makes us, makes me feel most alive. So that's why it is important to me.
I feel that the arts matter to me because it's an integral part of our society and our culture, and I want to pass on to our children and our future generations the importance of the arts and all that it has to offer us today and also for our future.
So I don't remember in my life a time when I wasn't around art and making art, and I was fortunate that my parents valued art and art making, and there were always papers and crayons and paint and things around to encourage my creativity, and I think that's where my value of the arts began.
Well, of course I don't. I think there are a variety of reasons that we don't place a lot of emphasis on the arts. They're not very practical, and I think we come from a society where what makes money and what produces results. And I say results because it depends on what kind of results you want to produce. But the arts are a little messy. You don't always get the product that you think you're going to start, that you imagine. So you have to turn around and regroup and do different things. And so I think they're a little messy for most people, not just in terms of the physical messiness, but the thought process has to change and regroup and come back and start over. And I don't think we like that a lot. I think we like for things to be, as a society, cleaner than that.
I feel like that society is taking away from the arts almost on a daily basis. As I mentioned in the previous interview, we here in Wilmington are fortunate because I do believe that here we have more support than in other areas. People here do seem to have an interest in the arts, whereas in some other places throughout North Carolina and other states throughout the nation, they've completely eliminated a position of an art specialist, a person that actually specializes in the arts, and it's not something that is just a craft or it's just some little activity. That there's a lot of depth to what a specialist would present. It might be the history or procedures and all kinds of information that goes forth with it. Of course, integrating different things into it just becomes natural, whether it's math or science. A lot of that is also a part of the arts.
I think some societies have wonderful emphasis on the arts. For example, I think when you go to Europe, the arts are very incorporated into the lifestyle, daily living. If you go to France, you just can stand anywhere in any city and look around, and there's artwork, from architecture to sculpture to painting to fashion. There's artwork everywhere, and artists are compensated, art is considered a very valuable part of their culture, and it's and when I say compensated, I mean financially compensated, but also valued. I think in our country, there are pockets of places where the arts are valued, but I think overall, the arts have lost value over the years, decades, centuries, in America, and that is evident by the way we see arts education, if not funded, not well funded, not supported. That's one indicator, and then you can just look around and see that the arts. Wilmington has a great art community, but I can look around for miles and not see any sculpture. So that's just an example.
Well, I've been working with Dreams of Wilmington, the outreach program for youth at risk, and I see so many young people have their lives turn around when they see no chance of opportunity for growth, no chance of opportunity for a future, feel like they have no way to express themselves. Kids who would normally not graduate high school, go on to college, go on to believe that their creative side has a possibility to give them a life. I think it just expands and expounds on everything that we already know and that we're already taught. It just makes you a more broad person and more accepting of opportunities that you may not have seen before, a wider view of the world.
Well, I saw it a lot in the classroom as a teacher, but most recently, in this position, I have worked with UNC Wilmington, and we are co-partners with the Kennedy Center. and something called Partners in Education. And we've been able to bring in visiting artists to do in residencies in some of our schools. And that is where I've seen a huge impact because artists are able to come in. For example, we brought a dance troupe in from LA, and we've had them here twice, as a matter of fact. They spent 2 weeks at Bradley Creek, and then last year we had them 2 weeks at Virgo. And so the artists are able to work an hour a day with a core group of students. And that's where the difference is made, I think, in forming those relationships and just seeing the kids. I know at Virgo last year, you know, we're talking about middle school students, and at first they were really excited about the opportunity, and then, you know, after you rehearse day after day after day, it, you know, it's kind of, and it looked like it was sort of falling apart, and the dancers kept saying, oh, this is what happens. You know, they'll pull it up, they'll pull it together, everything will be great. And of course I was having a little bit of a panic because they were going to be performing at Keenan with the dancers. And by Friday night of the performance, it was electric. I mean, it was just phenomenal. And I know that those children will never forget that experience. It was so incredible. They laughed, they cried, the whole range of emotions, and yet there at the end they were able to really pull off an amazing performance and form some of them formed some relationships with the dancers that have continued through email and that sort of thing.
Throughout the years of teaching, I have found that the arts is a wonderful way to work with children with behavioral problems, in that it seems to have a real calming effect, that children who, once they can get started, sometimes you just have to get them going, but once they get started, there's just something so soothing about the arts, and then the children can get into it, and they find a source of relaxation, and I'm thinking some freedom to express themselves, and maybe even to escape whatever it is that's troubling them at the time. So it's so beneficial for children with behavioral issues.
It would be very dull. Wouldn't sound nearly as good. Wouldn't be so beautiful. There's just a lot of things that would be missing without the arts.
Well, I think you can look back through history and see that at the core of all civilizations has been the arts. And once you don't have that, or you try to squelch it, you lose your humanity. That's what happens when you don't have the arts.
More, not devoid of, but less capable of compassion, of empathy, of a sensitivity to the beauty around us. One thing that happens, I took a color theory class years ago when I was in college, and in this color theory class, based on Joseph Albers' color theory, one of the things we had to do was analyze the colors that are in shadows. And when you first hear that, you go, oh, this is going to be fun, you know, and how much color is in a shadow. And the more we worked, and the more we did these color lessons, more or less, the more we started to see. And I think as you're exposed to the arts and you hear more and you see more and you feel more, the sensitivity to the world around you expands. And you feel the world around you in a more whole way, and I think that can make us more sensitive to each other and more productive with each other in terms of how we develop as human beings.
I had a discussion about this in a lesson once, and the kids, they said, and this was their words, it would be boring. And I think they're right, and they of course said it with a lot more expression. It would be boring. So, and I agree with them. So I think it would be. I think it would be very boring without the arts.
Okay.
Though this hypothetical scenario is rather drastic, there is no denying that the arts are essential to a rich, thriving culture. To prevent a future in which the arts are totally underappreciated, there are many ways that you yourself can get involved. On the most basic level, the best way to get involved with the arts is to create something yourself. You can draw, sculpt, paint, sing, whatever. As long as you're expressing yourself regularly, you'll start to see how it can improve your life. However, many people are reluctant to start because they think they're not good enough, they don't know how, or they don't have the time. You don't have to set out to create the next Mona Lisa or Starry Night. It takes years of practice to get good at something, so why not start now? As Ralph Waldo Emerson said, every artist was first an amateur. If you really want to learn more about what you're doing, sign up for a local class. Wilmington offers plenty for people of all ages. The Hannah Block Historic USO Community Arts Center and the Cameron Arts Museum both offer workshops on everything from painting to dancing to photography to creative writing. With Wine and Design, adults can throw painting parties where artists lead everyone in learning how to paint a particular image. Finally, Dreams of Wilmington is a nonprofit program that offers high-quality education in the visual and dramatic arts to troubled youth at reasonable prices. This is only the tip of the iceberg in terms of art classes in Wilmington. We are fortunate enough to live in a town with a vibrant historical and cultural background that is very supportive of artistic endeavors. Wilmington has not one, but 2 arts councils which sponsor events that allow the public to get involved with the arts. We're home to Screen Gems, a movie studio that has been home to the production of popular TV shows and movies, and Thalian Hall, a lavish theater that hosts wonderful stage productions and independent films.
Go to museums, go to galleries, go to performances, volunteer to usher, anything that, you can do as an individual to help an arts organization. Buy a simple set of materials, start playing with it.
Personally, I think is to participate in the arts is the best way to become involved. I think if you ever have that experience of just being lost in something, losing track of time when you're creating something, that's how you will fall in love with that process. Second best is, of course, being an appreciator of the arts. And I think we all do that on some level in things that we don't necessarily participate in.
With that experience of that energy right there, tangible in front of you, I don't think you can see museums online the way you can see them in the flesh, so to speak, because something tactile happens, something is transferred between you and that image when you're right there with it physically. I think that people should, if you like what you see in a show, take a class. Talk to artists. It's not like artists are separate from a world. It shouldn't be that uncommon. There's a lot to share. It's not like artists are over here in society and everybody else is over there. There's a great interconnection between the two. So go out into the world and do something that puts you in touch with the arts.
Well, in Wilmington, one way for the average person to get involved in the arts is to go to an art opening. Here in Wilmington, every 4th Friday, we have all the art galleries are open, and that's free. And you can go and just see different local artists. Usually it's local artists, sometimes they're not, but that's a great way to experience art. Seeing art and meeting artists and talking to the artists, because they're nearly always at the opening. If you have time to volunteer in a school, in an elementary school, for the art teacher. We have an art museum here in Wilmington. That's a wonderful art museum that is free once a month. There's a community day in our county. If you live in New Hanover County, you can go visit the museum. Sometimes they have other free events, but it's not that much admission otherwise. And there are sculptures outside that you can just walk around and see. So those are some ways to get involved in the arts or be more exposed to the arts.
One of the most interesting artistic hubs in downtown Wilmington is Acme Art Studio. It is a collective space that houses the studios of many artists in a wide variety of disciplines. This is a wonderful example of how the arts can bring people together, as the community at Acme is strong and thriving.
So it started out a group of artists who really felt that they wanted to have a big space to work together. And they all pooled their funds and drew up some outlines, found this building, purchased this building, and decided it would be good for other artists as well, and started renting out spaces, and it's become a community. It's become a support community. We have a couple of people who are no longer renting spaces here, but are sort of like token parts of Acme who still come and show with Acme. Other people are brought in from the outside. There's a communication in your own language, a language of the arts, just being able to be here. They've been going 20 years plus now. Last year was the 20th anniversary. Pam Tolda, I introduced you to, was one of the original founders, and I remember before they opened Acme, Pam and I talked about, well, should we rent a studio together? Because it was always a matter of, it cost so much money to have space in a lot of studio. And here, it's not like you're just locked into your own little cubbyhole of a studio. The other space is available. The gallery situation in the center of Acme is available. We all sign onto a calendar. You can be part of a group show, or you can sign onto the calendar and have your own show. If you need to expand out of your space, you have the whole outdoors. You can spill out into the kitchen area if it's not lunchtime, and if you warn people, sometimes I give hand paper making workshops back there. If I have too much going on in here, I can spill outside. It's a much more expansive space and support system that is presented when you walk in and go, I'll take that studio. It's not just the space, it's a whole support system.
Fritzi was then kind enough to show me around the studio spaces and take a look at some of the amazing artwork in progress here. In recent years especially, the internet and the advent of social media has made a global artistic community more accessible than ever. Artists from every age and skill level can share their artwork on a variety of platforms. One of the most popular ways to do so is through DeviantArt, a service which allows users to create a digital gallery and offer critiques on the work of other users. Etsy is another website where artists and craftsmen can sell their handmade items to people around the world, and this service has been an incredibly helpful way for many artists to reach wider audiences and earn extra income. Crowdfunding platforms like Kickstarter and Patreon allow lovers of all kinds of art to support content creators in making their creative visions come true by backing them financially. In the past year alone, 3 million people have pledged a total of $480 million to 19,911 creative projects and counting. With this broad spectrum of creative opportunities stretched out in front of us, the wonders of modern technology combined with Wilmington art scene and the potential you have to create beautiful things, what are you waiting for?